I want to give you, Jay Lutch, Lorvins, and Amir your flowers. I respect 4 of you gentlemen. I know about all of you guys. You guys are a part of my awakening. When I was in the awakening, I woke up in 2018. I was looking into it. I was kind of like, I was a Christian. I was born again. I was a licensed minister in Christianity. I left the awakening. I kind of got into into the conscious community. I was kind of like I was like a pro-black Christian thingy. I don't know what the hell. And this is coming from a mulatto brother. I was confused, but I was like in the conscious community. But then I looked into Israelites. I saw the camps, and they were screaming at hatred stuff. Part of it I felt because I could resonate with some of the anger. But I was like, man, there's got to be some decent people out there. And I came across some good brothers from Hebrew Nation Building. They changed my life. Shout out to all the brothers of Hebrew Nation Building. Shout out to Brother Divine Prospect. Shout out to Avdiel Ben Lewi, Zion Lex. Shout out to DCB, the Ach Yahu'el out in Brooklyn. Shout out to Only Love Austin. Her groundwork, her research on the continent of Africa is so amazed by it and impressed. So like you guys coming into listening to brothers like Lorvin and Jay Lutch, like Jay Lutch with his bars and Lorvin's with his singing. Like to this day, my wife and I listen to Lorvin's and Jay Lutch. And one of my favorite songs when I first was like looking into good music was that jam, We Gon' Jump. We gon' jump.
Yeah.
We gon' jump. Hey, we gon' jump. Not afraid to throw my hands up. And then Jay Lutch. Like a set of cables, we jump in. Put it on the shoes, now we jump in. Fill with the rope in. Hey, those are the breaks. Hey, you know what I'm saying? So like that jam today, like when the free stays come around, I always play that to this very day. But I said a lot. I just want to give you your flowers. Thank you for coming on this panel. But how are you doing tonight?
Oh man, I'm the Most High has been good to me and looked favorably upon me. So I have no complaints.
All praises to our great King. And it's powerful that you're on this panel because you are currently in a polygynous marriage. And I think that like you are like a great example on somebody who can speak on this, speak on polygynous marriage. And just because we disagree does not change the way how I feel about you. As Israelites, we always disagreeing on something. As black folks, we always disagreeing on something. We debating who's better, LeBron or Michael Jordan. This topic right here ain't nothing different. We just debating on how we can carry out Torah culture because it's challenging to carry out Torah culture in the land of our captivity. So like, go ahead and share with the people your perspective on polygyny, if you like.
Well, I mean, my perspective is that there are Torah precepts that govern how it's to be carried out. We can make the argument about monogamy all day, and the reality is there are flaws in monogamy, there are flaws in polygyny, there are flaws in singleness, and we are walking as flawed brothers and sisters, whether we are awakened or whether we are not. And so there are multiple perspectives on those that are for it and those that are against it. Obviously, I am for it, but I'm for it to a degree. And what I mean is, I do not believe that it is for everybody. Just like I do not believe that monogamy is for everybody. Some brothers, some sisters just need to be single. And I think that the ability to be successful in polygyny and the ability to be successful in a serial monogamy situation are character based. If you don't have good character, if you are a transformer and in public you are this super brew, but in private you're an ugly person, this is not going to work for you. Whether you're seeking to be married and you marry somebody and it don't work, and if you walk into polygyny and it don't work, the the distinctive difference is we have to do the work on ourselves. And that is about aligning with the will of the Father. And the will of the Father is demonstrated when our people, an example of it is like when our people came out of Egypt and traversed the wilderness, and how he constantly revealed their current state, and then he revealed the desired state for them. And the desired state for them was to put off things like bitterness, jealousy, the desire to be in control, the desire to be like other nations, the desire to serve him and worship him in the ways of other people. And so when we are able to shed those things, then you can start like really entertaining the conversation of, is polygyny, will it work for you? Because you can have all the love for the Father that you want, and you lack patience or long suffering, and it won't work. So I did see one question that was in the chat that you had posed, and it was, if you're something along the lines of, if your daughter was to be or join a polygynous union, would you go to the wedding? Did I get it right? No? Yeah, okay. So if we're walking according to Hebraic culture, then the design for how your daughter would wind up married would be between you, her father, and this other man, or this other man's father. And the idea is that what marriage is about is connecting two houses together and then building community this way. You know, I can tell you all day long, hey, you my op, I'm gonna rock with you. If somebody come for you, I'm coming for them. And then me and you have a dispute about, I don't know, having coffee on Shabbat. And all of a sudden, we ain't bros no more. Like, all of a sudden, because we have a simple dispute, a disagreement, not even dispute, but just disagree on how something is to be observed. Now I just cut you off, and you ain't my brother no more. Like that's stupid. But when we talk about walking now, unifying houses, now we can't afford to treat each other like, I'm just gonna cast you away, because now our children, right, are at stake. My daughter with your son, and the offspring that they produce, whether they are they're my grandchildren, and they're this man's grandchildren and this man's children. And so it behooves us to operate now as one body. Now, as we're operating as this one body, if somebody comes against you, they don't just come against you, now they come against us. And I am bound to stand by you, because we are one, and our grandchildren, or the children that produce it, are the literal living, breathing evidence of our bond. So the way that it would work is, this man and or this man's father would have a conversation with me, and we would sit down and we would have a conversation or conversations about what this looks like. The vows that are made between this man and me, and they are responsible for carrying it out. Our forefathers, they had things like ketubas, where they would have, write out the terms of this relationship, so to speak. But before ketubas existed, we had things like a jar, and the dirt from your land goes in this jar, and the dirt from my land goes in this jar. We shake this jar up, and I pour some in yours, and I keep some. And this thing is a reminder to me and to you that unless we can separate this dirt, back, then that's how united we are. So this idea of a white dress wedding and all that, that's them. Wedding rings, that's them. That's not our culture. So when this man goes and sets up, prepares a place for my daughter, and then returns, well, now we have a celebration. And the celebration is about her being ready to go with him. I've done my job as protecting her purity, all that jazz. And now our families and whoever we invite to be a part of this celebration, we now celebrate, and she goes off with this man. And the intent is for her to never return to my house as anything other than now a guest, a welcomed guest, with her husband's blessing and grandchildren, etc. What am I advocating that my daughter go with a man down to the courthouse and sign some documents and now become union with the state? No, I don't advocate for that. Because it's not necessary. And the fights that our people have fought are often about, or were often about, trying to integrate to be equal to and seen as equal to the very people that brought them into slavery. And I get it. You start out as a slave, your intent is, I want to be as equal to this person as possible. But that is not the way of our forefathers. And so for me, I'm not going to advocate for them to go down and get a marriage license. This man will be vetted by me. And my daughter, and I have adult daughters, they already walk in agreement with me. They don't want to go out here and dating and all that BS, trying to figure it out. They trust the judgment of their father and their mother to, or their mothers, if you will, to procure their future for them. Just like Abraham sent Eleazar, and he finds Rebecca, and he goes and petitions Laban and the house of Bethuel for her, and all of that. Like, that's the way. And so our responsibility is to seek the ancient path, the ancient way, and walk that out. But I understand that there are plenty of people that will get married today or marry their daughters, and actually they will want them to go get a marriage license and stuff because of the legal protections and all that jazz. And if that's your prerogative, that's your prerogative. But I'm not going to tell a man that he's in error if he chooses not to do that with his family, just like I'm not going to tell a man that he's in error if he chooses to do that. The only thing I'm going to say is, when you sign a contract with the state, you give the state stake in your marital situation, and whatever spiritual authority governs that state now governs your situation, regardless what you say. Oh, I only serve y'all. Yeah, I get it. I hear you. You just need to understand that whatever governing authority governs that state, you've now entered into a contract with them. And that contract is a vow. Prior to the awakening, it is what it is. Post the awakening, that's on you. You can't say you didn't know. And so if you choose to do that, more power to you. But if you choose not to, more power to you. But this is all why it's important for us to build communities. And how does the scripture say? Know them that labor among you, so that you can make wise decisions about who we join in allegiance to. So if some man approaches my daughter and is kind of trying to get in her ear, I recognize this man is a thief and a robber because he didn't go through the door. You got to come knock at the door. That's me. If you want my daughter. And what I will say is, as I said on the other panel, I didn't just snatch up my first wife back when we were 18. I went to her father, and her father gave me permission. My second, almost 20 years later, I didn't just snatch her up and woo her. And I went to her mother, her stepfather, and her older brother, who was operating in place of their father. And because her father was dealing with a sickness at the time. So I followed the protocol, and they agreed to allow her to come under my jurisdictional authority. So, when I look at it from a biblical perspective, that's what it is for me. Now, for those that are, I don't know how you say pro-poly, or have questions about it, there are other aspects that, make sense. Like right now, people are having a hard time financially. So now we got people living on, damn near living on the streets. Well, if you only make $40,000 a year, and that ain't a lot, and you're married to a woman and she makes the same as you, she only makes 40,000, but together y'all make 80. And then you take on a third and she makes 40, well, you are now a six-figure income home. Where it comes to the issue of marriage from a legal perspective, I appreciate the article that you read, and you read it all the way through, and I listened. The issue is how we, from a biblical perspective, are defining marriage. It is not the same as how the state is defining marriage. The state is defining marriage from the aspect of obtaining a marriage license. She's obtaining a marriage license, and now we stand before some entity represented by the state, and then boom, now we're married. And now I go and I take this woman and I go get a marriage license, and like that's illegal. But if the aspect of somebody taking somebody into their house was the construct of how the state views marriage, but I'm here to answer, any type of questions that you have. What I will say, I'll say this, right? People who use the idea of polygyny to promote sexual perversion, like threesomes, like stuff like that, that's not biblical. That's not honorific of the Most High Yah. And you can't walk that way and proclaim to be an ambassador or accurate reflection of him for some of the very reasons that you talked about, like on some of the last points you were making as it pertains to like potentiality for like sexual issues with sexual reproductive organs, like urinary tract infections, sexually transmitted infections, stuff like that. Now, if you are operating and according to the Torah instruction on, when you are, emitting seminal fluid, and then like you gotta remain your period of separation, if you will, and then the next day that's a different dynamic. So as long as people are doing it according to the instruction, but I will tell you that the biggest issue that people run into is character, not polygyny in and of itself.
Wow, for that, you know what time it is, family. Sound the ghetto shofar. Straight fire, straight fire. And I mean that, Ach Yahu'el, because you're speaking from experience. And I like the energy that you have. You are filled with the Ruach HaKodesh. And I appreciate you for coming on this platform. I don't know where you're located, but I'm out here in California. I'm in Stockton, unfortunately. I'm trying to get out of here, but this city's called Stockton. Once you here, you get stuck. I'm in this valley. It's really like a hole. It's hard to get out. It's
I used to live in Cali. I lived in
8:41 p.m. my time.
Air Force Base.
Repeat that. Say that.
I said I used to live in California many, many moons ago. I lived in at Travis Air Force Base when I was in the military.
That's not far from Stockton. And fam, you serve in the military. Thank you for your service. Thank you. All praises to Yah. Now, I like this because this platform right here, we're objective. The chat, they know me. They deal with my crazy self all the time. I like to give different perspectives that you won't hear from your camp chief officer or your chief priest from the camp. I'm not a camper. I'm not a one-wester. I'm all about peace, love, and unity. Now, I'm considered, I guess we're labeled moderates. I guess that's what they'll label me as, one of the good old Israelites. But like, we welcome objectivity. I like to have these topics that, they're kind of like barbecue debates. We sit around the barbecue, what I'm saying? We got the grill, we're debating who's better, Jordan and LeBron, the Golden State Warriors or the 96 Bulls. The team, the Golden State Warriors, when they won all those games, 71 games and whatnot, against the 96 Bulls that won 69 wins or something like that. I'm trying to say. But like, to me, these are like, good campfire barbecue debates that we can have. But tonight, this actually does have importance because, it's about our community. It's about our people. This topic tonight is, it's beyond you and me, Adon. And no way tonight am I trying to debate you. I'm not trying to come sideways. I tell people this all the time. I'm not a master debater. And I look around this so-called awakening. To me, it's the awakening. There's too many master debaters. It ain't my thing. Shout out to marriage. I'm not a master debater. But you got so many people that want to be famous on YouTube. They want to make a name for themselves. And they want to just be right in order to debunk their opponent. But I don't see you as an opponent. I see you as a descendant of Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. I see you as a descendant of Israel. So I'm not trying to come at you sideways or even debate you. To me, this is a discussion. This is a template on how two mores, two teachers in the awakening, we can have a conversation. We can provide different perspectives peacefully. We can have a conversation with shalom. We don't have to agree on everything, but we can at least arrive to some common ground. And I did a video on polygyny, like when I first started on YouTube, like in my first year. And I actually gave the pros for polygyny and the cons for polygyny. And I was giving it from more of a objective position. But tonight, I'm obviously biased tonight. I'm absolutely subjective tonight. And I've held those feelings for a long time. It was in the beginning, I just wanted to be, kumbaya with everybody, even though that's a beautiful song. It's part of our awakening. Kumbaya, it's part of our heritage. But even with that said, I'm making the point that I was trying to be cool with everybody. But I think it's okay where we can stand on a position and we can defend it. And we can even welcome disagreement. And the fact that we can have this conversation, it shows that we are grown men. And it also shows that we love Yah. So no way am I trying to debate you or set you up or even try to, I got you, set you up with a moment where I'm trying to correct you through scripture. We're going back and forth through the scripture. We're conflating scripture. We're doing point for point. They're doing what these Israelites like to say all the time. What they like to say. What's the line for line? What's that? Blase for blase? Precept upon precept, line upon line. When honestly, that's not what that means. It doesn't mean jump around the Bible like House of Pain. That's not what it means. Just to prove an angry point, just to prove that you're right. I don't like to do that. And honestly, that, line for line, precept for precept, it's a mockery term. It's a mockery term. It's not what we think it is. It doesn't mean jump around the Bible and prove that I'm right. It's a mockery term to Israel. I did a lesson on that. So I like to be strategic on what cross references I'm using tonight, but I'm not going to try to cut you with the scripture. You got too many master debaters out there. It ain't my thing. But I am aware that there are advantages to polygyny. There's pros and cons. And I'm glad that we're able to give our position tonight. And, it's all love. It's all good. Now, I also want to ask you this question, though. This just for like, kicks and giggles. I got to ask you this. Do you follow the Talmud?
Not in any capacity.
The reason why I ask is you reference Eleazar. as the servant to Avraham. Aki, I love you. I mean it. But that's from oral tradition. That's from the Talmud. That's not in the Torah. I just wanted to share that with y'all. I just want to share with you that Eleazar, that's from Talmudic teachings. It's from oral tradition. It's, the servant of Abraham is not mentioned. I just wanted to kind of bring that out.
What's his name?
His name is not mentioned. It's like the servant of Abraham. And the reason, and also too, like, see, I follow the parasha. Are you familiar with parashas? Are you familiar with sidras, parashot? Okay, well, this week's parasha that just passed, well, depending on what calendar you follow, but and I'm aware of multiple calendars, but Chaye Sarah just passed. That's the Torah parasha, the Torah portion. I don't like speaking over people. Parasha just means portion, and included in that portion in Chaye Sarah, which means the life of Sarah, is the story of Rebecca, and Yitzchak, Isaac, and it covers that story. So, like, yeah, we just went over that Sidra, and but yeah, his name is not actually mentioned. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to throw that out there. No, I hear like a lot of Israelites say Eleazar, but I'm like, that's from the Talmud, and I ain't gonna lie. I'll be honest with you. I follow a degree of Talmud. I don't follow it. It's not authoritative, but there's some gems in the Talmud, absolutely. And I think one of the gems in the Talmud is fasting on Yom Kippur. A lot of Israelites don't know we're actually following Talmud when we fast on Yom Kippur because it doesn't say that in the Torah. Just a little observation. But what you say about that? A little off topic, but what you say?
Well, I looked to Bereshit or Genesis chapter 15, and it acknowledges in verse 2 this entity. I think that people lean toward as understanding this servant of Abraham to be. So if you don't mind, can you expound on that? Genesis 15, like 1 and 2.
Is that I'm trying to think on top of let me see. Let me pull it. Yeah, you want me to put it up on screen or you want me to share the screen? Okay, yeah, let's do that. Let's go ahead and share the screen. Like I said, no way am I trying to debate you. We're just bringing out perspectives. Because to me, a debate, it has to have order. You got to have rounds. You have to have a moderator. You got to have an audience. You got to have rules to it. And like I think a lot of Israelites are just thirsty for debates. And to me, it has to be worth it. But yeah. I know what you're alluding to. So let me go ahead and bring that on screen. You're going to Genesis 15, which is an earlier mention, which is beautiful. Let me go ahead and share that on screen. There is like a methodology of the first mention. I don't know what you think of that. I know they teach that in like Bible school and stuff like that. They teach that in seminary. Yep, shots fired. But yeah, let me go ahead and share on screen. The scripture says in Genesis 15, Avram promised a son, and these things the word of Yahuwah came unto Avram in a vision, saying, Fear not, Avram, I am thy shield, and thy exceeding great reward. And Avram said, Yahuwah Elohim, what wilt thou give me, seeing I go childless? And the steward of my house is this Eleazar of Damascus. And Avram said, Behold, to me thou hast given no seed, and lo, one born in my house is mine heir. So like, me too, I like to like read beyond just one or two scriptures, because I think like a lot of Israelites, they just point out one scripture for proof text to prove their point. But yes, it does mention right here. And the steward of my house is this Eleazar of Damascus. It says that, absolutely. So I definitely see the inference, the conclusion that can be drawn out that this individual is Eleazar. I guess the point that I'm leaning to is that, like when you go through Genesis, I believe it's Genesis 24, if I'm correct. But like when you go through the actual portion of the actual message, it just says the servant of Abraham. So like it's not actually mentioned. So that's why it's like I see the inference, but you're right to every inference. But what I'm saying is that when you look in the Talmud, they say it's Eleazar, not as an inference, but as a explicit fact. So that's all. I'm a dorkosaurus, as you can tell. I'm very dorky. And this is a sidebar, but I guess what the point that I'm trying to bring out is that Israelites do follow Talmud to a certain degree, and they don't even realize it. But yeah. So what you say about this passage?
All right, so when we jump to chapter 24, it reads on the wise, and I'm looking at I can't see what version you're using. I'll look at King James. That's fine. I have no problem using that. It says, and Abraham was old and well stricken in age, and Jehovah had blessed Abraham in all things. And Abraham said unto his eldest servant of his house that ruled over all that he had, put, I pray thee, thy hand under my thigh, and I will make thee swear by Jehovah, the Eloah of the heavens, and the Eloah of the earth, that thou shalt not take a wife unto my son of the daughters of the Canaanites among whom I dwell. So my thing is, the whole concept was that prior to the Most High intervening, Abraham's perspective was that he would take this particular servant, his eldest, his trusted, to be his actual heir. And so when we move forward to chapter 24, when he's sending someone to procure a wife for his son, I think for some conclusion would be that this would be Eleazar, and that's kind of how that comes about, aside from the Talmud. But I stand to be corrected, and it could have been somebody completely different, and that would just be, the assumption. But following
I love that. I appreciate you say that, because you're objective like me. I know, just speaking to you, like I can tell you're welcome to hear other perspectives and maybe even change it. And no, I'm not trying to change your perspective, but I'm like, hey, since we're on topic, we can have actually a little fun on this and kind of get a little technical, because I'm a dork, man. I like to ask questions. Like when I read the Torah, like when I go over the parasha, I just can't help to have questions. Like I have more questions than actual answers. I feel like, I'm going to say this might be a cuss word, but I'm going to say it. The more I read the Torah, the more I feel like a dumbass, because the more that I thought I knew, I actually do not know. And I know, as a former Christian, I thought I had everything. I thought I had the doctrine on lock. I was a former Trinitarian. I'm like, okay, Father, Son, Holy Ghost, you feel me? Jesus died for everybody's sin. So I had all these preconceived notions, all these things that were taught, to the point where, I taught it to the people, on the pulpit. I was a licensed minister in Christianity. I was baptized at the age of 13. I was born again. I was baptized. I did Christian rap at 14. I taught my first Bible study at 14. Also, I gave my first sermon at 15 at a church in God of Christ Church in East Oakland. So those are beautiful things, and I love that, because it's a part of my awakening. I don't take anything back or regret the things that I learned in Christianity. As a matter of fact, I actually brought some of that Christianity into the awakening in regards to being excited for the Ruach. I feel like a lot of Israelites are not excited. They lost their smile. Like they boosty, they dry. Like, where your energy? Where your excitement for the Most High? So like me, that's my mission. Like, on Fridays, like when I teach and preach, I like to rely on the Ruach to be excited and to be pumped up and to be thankful for life and for abundance from Yehovah Eloheinu, Yehovah our God. So I think it's beautiful that we can actually have a sidebar conversation that wasn't even off topic, but that we can kind of like discuss that. And I got to ask you, so like as a Moray, where do you guys have like a fellowship or anything like that? I was just curious.
I connect with a bunch of brothers. We don't necessarily come together in fellowship like every Shabbat, but we get together definitely for special days that we see kind of outlined in the book, obviously. So, and then stuff in between. But because we're slightly spread out, it's not too bad of a drive on the east side, on the East Coast. yeah, we get together and do the sham. But my family, we get together. We worship every Shabbat. Um, I have a family of musicians, so I have a daughter that plays bass, another one that plays guitar. I play keys. My whole family sings. I got another daughter that plays drums. So, I mean, we get together and we jam out. We sing a lot of scripture songs, like straight from the text. Actually, that's pretty much all we do. Is sing songs straight from the script. And then this helps reinforce what the book says. And we know that music is an amazing tool to infuse our children, our families, us with information, whether they want to or not, retain the information. So, man, it's been a great thing.
All praises. That's beautiful. I got to ask you, what state do you reside in?
I'm about the Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama area, down that way.
All right, sure. Okay, so I imagine it's probably 2 hours ahead of me. I'm gonna guess 1057 where you're located. In that, I don't know what you call that. Midwest? Is that considered Midwest or South? It's considered the South. This is the South. But yeah. So you're about 2 hours ahead of me. Okay. So yeah.
But hey, I got. So what? Like I said, if you got questions, brother, if I can answer it, I'm gonna answer.
Yes. So you already answered the question I had on screen. I just want to get a confirmation just right here. So if your daughter married a polygynous husband, would you go to that wedding? And you would say, just in one word, Cain or Lo?
Yeah, the ceremony would be on my property because I'm giving her to him from here. So unless we make some other arrangements, but I think that's important. That's important for to get out of this whole Western mindset of what a wedding is supposed to entail or look like. Like when you leave my house, like let that be when you an understanding that, hey, I am now leaving my father's house as an ambassador, holding everything that he has taught me about our culture, and now and my mother, like the things that she's imparted into me, and now I'm going to reflect that with a man, and he might be monogamous and he might be polygynous. I'm not against either one. What I am all about is honesty and character. And if we can have those things, then hey, we can have a conversation.
Absolutely. I'm thankful that you're willing to answer some questions. I have a few questions, and it's not interrogation and like that. Ain't no weirdness. I guess you would say yeah to this one, right? Respectfully, you would say yeah, and you've already elaborated and why you expounded beautifully. Okay, so my next question is what's your interpretation on Exodus 21:10? I'll go ahead and pull it up on screen. You can go ahead and give your midrash on Exodus 21:10. Your midrash is a fancy word for your investigation. It also comes from the root word darash, which means to investigate. That's all it is. This is like you're bringing out your explanation of the text. So I like for you to give your midrash, not to be confused with midrash, and that's what happens when you have unprotected, dirty sex. Don't get midrash. A lot of our people got midrash, but I like. Thank you. I'll be here all day. I'm a goofball. But yeah. We give a midrash. I like to hear your midrash, not to be confused with the world's midrash. Now Exodus 21:10. I like for you to give your exegesis on this. Okay. If he take him another wife, and by the way, let me preface this. I'm only using the King James for the audience. Let me go because I get triggered. Like the King James got problems. The 1611 got problems. I prefer the Hebrew Bible. I prefer the actual Ivrit, the Hebrew. But I get it. I got a lot of complaints from our people. Please read the King James. Read the King James. So I was like, okay, I'll read the King James. So it only gives me an opportunity to correct the King James because the King James is really the King James. The King James is Michael Jordan right now. So with that said, if he take him another wife, her food, her raiments, and her duty of marriage, shall he not diminish.
Yes.
And if he does not these three unto her, then she shall go out free without money. Yeah, please give your midrash on Exodus 21:10 and 11. You got it,
Okay.
Adon.
All right, here we go. So what this is a judgment. When we look at Shemot 21, starting with verse 1, it literally says, now these are the judgments, all right, which thou shalt set before them. So this is not the prescription, if you will. This is something to look at. Like, this is something that now holds you accountable for how you are to conduct yourself. It's not something where there's wiggle room and you can manipulate. And so now we have to look into the context of what this judgment is about. In verse 2, it says, if you buy a Hebrew servant, 6 years he shall serve, and in the 7th he shall go out free for nothing, right? So now a male has come into your space and has agreed to work for you for 6 years, and in the 7th you release him. And when he's released from service, I mean, he goes on his way. Now keep in mind, what he has essentially acquired things while in service for you, whether it's some type of financial gain, or even if he has acquired a particular skill or skills. When he leaves, he's not necessarily leaving empty-handed in that respect, because now when he goes from you, he can now take what he's learned when he was with you and apply that to his life, and then be able to elevate himself as a man. Okay. Verse 3 says, if he came in by himself, he shall go out by himself. If he were married, then his wife shall go out with him. So if he came in with the wife, then he can go out with that wife that he came in with. And which is a beautiful picture of someone not being able to take advantage of someone as it pertains to, you've now become my servant, your wife becomes my property. I can do whatever I want to do with your wife because she's my property. It doesn't work that way. If he came in with a wife, you have to respect her as his wife, belonging to him, even as a servant. It's important. Verse 4 says, if his master has given him a wife, and she have borne him sons or daughters, the wife and her children shall be her master's, and he shall go out by himself. Oh, now this gets a little interesting, because now we're making the distinction of who is in authority to who, or in subjection to who. She, and anything that she produces belongs to the master, or the person that they have come under some subjection about. If the servant shall plainly say, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not go out free, then his master shall bring him unto the judges. He shall also bring him to the door, or unto the doorpost, and his master shall bore his ear through with an awl, and he shall serve him forever. Okay. Why? Because now this man is permanently attaching himself to this woman and the children that they produce. I guess that completely takes divorce off the table now, doesn't it? Now it says, if a man sell his daughter to be a maidservant or handmaid, she shall not go out as men servants do. Now, we read before how the men servants go out. They go out basically free to go on their own to establish themselves as men in Israel, or go back to their country or whatever. it says, if she please not her master, whom hath betrothed her to himself, then shall he let her be redeemed. Meaning her people can, whatever that price that was previously set, they can buy her back. They can, and it's interesting because it doesn't even specifically speak of her as just a servant. It says, if she please not her master, who hath betrothed her to himself. So we see that the circumstances are different. The circumstances are that this man has assumed responsibility of this young lady with the expectation that she is going to become his wife. Now, her father or whatever back in that day may have made this arrangement to, because the man would have to pay a bride price. And so paying that bride price might cover a debt or something like that. However they negotiated that is between them. And this is where this whole redemption comes back into play. Because if the man is like, I don't like this. Maybe she's too young. And he thought about it and is like, I just don't feel comfortable with this. The age gap I see how you move as a man, and I don't want to be in a league with you, right? Her family can bring that bride price right on back and redeem her, buy her back to her family. It says, to sell her unto a strange nation, he shall have no power, seeing he had dealt deceitfully with her. And the deceitfulness is the expectation that she would be a type of wife to this man. And now he has changed his mind. Verse number 9 says, and if he hath betrothed her unto his son, he shall deal with her after the manner of daughters. So if he brought her in and with the expectation of betrothing her to his son, and this don't work out, that's fine. But he can't send her out like the men servants. He has to entreat her like a daughter. What does that mean? Well, the way women of old operated is they always operated under a type of covering. A young girl grew up in her father's house and remained in her father's house until her father had given her to a man as a wife or a type of servant. And the expectation was that she would remain and build this man's house unless she got divorced. And if he wind up divorcing her, she could be somebody else's wife, or she could return to her father's house. If she was widowed, she could remain under the name of that man that she may have venerated and honored and revered, especially if she had a son by him, that she could raise him up in his father's name, and he could take over the property, etc. But he couldn't just get rid of this girl. He would now have to, the only way of sending her out is betrothing her like a daughter to someone else. It says, and if he take him another wife, her food, her raiment, and her duty of marriage shall not diminish. Meaning that he can't now put her away of some type and treat her like she doesn't exist. He is responsible for taking care of her, covering her, ensuring that she has nourishment and her duty of marriage. Now, you can click on it. It's going to talk about conjugal rights and stuff. But when you look at what the institution of sex was for, the institution of sex was about procreation. He didn't say in the book of Genesis chapter 1 to go and just have as much sex as you want to across the earth. The whole intent was about increasing population. So the purpose of sex is procreation. Now we can get into the weeds of, and the blessing of it is recreation, but that's a different dynamic. So the idea is that if he is having relations with this woman, she at some point is going to produce a son who can then, when he is gone, take care of her, and not in any type of sexual stuff, but carrying on the father's legacy in his name, honoring his father and his mother. And if he do not these three unto her, then she can go out free, but without money. Meaning, this type of divorce can happen, and she be cut off or separated from him, without securing that the expectation of the above. She can go and start her life, be someone's wife, go back to her father's house. What you got, Ach?
Beautiful. That was a great breakdown. I love that you started from verse 1. You got something that is missing in our community, which is context. I appreciate that. Yes, context. A lot of brews just skip around the Bible, like we said, just house of pain, just conflate scriptures. It's actually insane. It's actually embarrassing. But I saw your methodology. You started from context. Like I said, I just have questions tonight. Not a debate, not a sideways angle, or anything like that. Which I see a lot of that community too.
So let me throw one more thing in there real quick.
Absolutely.
So if this is the standard for someone who comes in your house as a servant, how much more a wife? You can't do less for your wife than what the expectation would be at bare minimum for someone who's come into your house as a servant and elevated her way up. Yielding to you.
Beautiful. I love that you read using context. Now, I have a follow-up question. So with Exodus 21:10 and 11, you mentioned, yes, there's different interpretations on this. We'll go to Bibles. We'll get some other translations. We'll go to NLT. Am I in the right place? Yeah, right here. NLT says, if you marry another woman, NLT actually says, if a man has married a slave wife, takes another wife for himself, he must not neglect the rights of the first wife of food, clothing, and sexual intimacy. That's a thought for thought translation. NIV, which is another thought for thought translation. If he marries another woman, he must not deprive the first one of her food, clothing, and marital rights. If he take another wife to himself, he shall not diminish her food, her clothing, or her marital rights. And you mentioned conjugal rights. We see that in the NASB 20, in the NASB 95. So yes, we have some different readings. Even in there's a footnote. We'll go to 20. It says her literally flesh, reduce her food. It says flesh. So yeah. I mean, there's different readings on how we can interpret that. We can also look into the Hebrew as well. But yeah, so like my question for you, Adon, is Exodus 21:10 and 11. How can we enforce justice for polygynous wives? How can we enforce their marital rights? How can we enforce their rights under polygynous marriages today?
Okay, well, the only way I would use Exodus 21 in relation to that would be like what I was saying at the very end. Like if this is the standard for someone who comes in as a servant, you can't do less for your wife than this woman, right? And it goes back to, let me ask, let me say this, right? So a man marries a woman in a monogamous situation, and he is mean as hell to her. Can she call the cops on him? Sure. What, is he going to go to jail for being mean? Nah. It just sucks that that's a character issue. If she goes to church, she could take it to her pastor. Her pastor can talk to her husband about being mean. but he is not obligated to stop being mean. They can manipulate and twist and this and that. And his attitude may be, I'm not mean, I'm just very direct. And when you talk to him, you might be like, nah, he's kind of direct. But he's not wrong. He's just mean. You now take this man out of this monogamous situation and you put him in a polygynous household, and now the same man with the same temperament, the same attitude is now heightened because it's polygyny and it's not monogamy. If we're talking about the idea of abuse, I mean, brother, we could be walking down the streets of Sacramento or Stockton. I could clock you, and somebody who sees is calling it. Well, no, they're not. They're going to pull out a video camera and they're going to record it. But somebody else that's older than us is going to call the police, right? Because this man assaulted this man and put hands on him. It doesn't matter what your dynamic is, whether you are in a monogamous situation, whether you are, how do they say today, boyfriend and girlfriend, whether you are engaged, whether it's your mama, your daddy. If you hit somebody else as an adult, you are liable to the law for assault, and it doesn't matter what the circumstances are. If a man is with the, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I like to interject. So like with this verse, right, 10 and 11, like, I guess what I'm saying is, like, in today, in the land of our captivity, which is super comfortable, I ain't gonna lie, it's comfy. I mean, it was comfy for our ancestors in Babylon because they took the middle class and the upper class Israelites. They left the po folk in the land. If you was a po Israelite, they left you. You can be in, they didn't take everybody. They took nobles and blase. They took the upper echelon of Israelites to the point where they integrated into society, and they didn't want to come back to the land. When it was time to return, they didn't want to come back. They was cushy in Babylon, and I ain't gonna lie, it's pretty cushy in Babylon. Today's modern Babylon, or whatever you want to call it, modern Egypt, modern Babylon. It's pretty comfy. You feel me? I like this. I mean, we got Wi-Fi, we got technology. We got clean water, we got running water, we got electricity. Let's go. We got a lot, fam. So like my question is, like, in today's land of captivity, like, how can we make sure, like because from my position, like, the Torah is our constitution, but in order to bring out the constitution, we need a governing body. We need a judicial system. We need, as it says in this portion, mishpatim. We need shoftim. We need judges. So like we need shoftim, we need judges. So what I'm saying is, like, how can we enforce this without judges and officials in today's land that they don't even recognize the marriage, because that's the land of our captivity's laws. They don't recognize it or even protect the women. So like, I guess the heart of what I'm asking is, how can we as Israelites, how can we enforce that women in polygynous marriages are protected? Like, how can we make our Torah law, how can we make that official in regards to enforcing and executing the law? Because when you break the law, when you break those marital rights, and depending on the extent of how much you violated the polygynous wife, you got to pay more than just let her go. You got to do more than that. And I'll follow up on what I'm saying. But my quick question for you is, like, how today, as Israelites in the land of our captivity, how can we make sure that our women are protected in these marriages?
That's a great question. And so that goes back to when I was explaining to you about my daughter. If I were, or when the time comes for them to give, or for me to give them away in marriage, it's all about community, right? And so even amongst the tribes in Israel, there wasn't like just one judge. The way that it was set up, I mean, it was with Moshe, and Reuel came through, his father-in-law Jethro came through and said, it's not good that you carry all this weight on you by yourself. You like establish a
He said,
judicial
"What you
system.
doing to the people?" He said, "What you doing to the people?" He didn't even say, "Hey, what you doing to yourself?" I mean, he was Moshe was wearing himself out,
Yeah.
but he said, Jethro, he said, "What you doing to the people?" But go ahead. I just wanted to get that off. Go
Yeah. So, in essence, the structural law comes about in two facets. One, community. And how we are all separated, etc. We have to put ourselves in subjection to each other. That means establishing elders and respecting what they say. And if they say, hey, no, I don't do this, do that, I don't run away just because I disagree. I yield to the elder because he's the elder. And that's what it is. And I trust that this elder that I'm submitting myself to has the Ruach HaKodesh and is submitted to Abba Yah, and that even if he's conveying it in a way I do not like, that he is still being used. And I am not driven by my emotions to react to how he's saying it, but I'm yielding to what he's saying. Number one. And number two is, if I have now joined league with this man and have given my daughter into that family, the way that the relationship should be set up is, let's say me and you. Let's say I gave my daughter to you, right? And now
this is definitely periodic because I'm married and I'm married to an Israelite woman, a black woman, a strong and powerful, and my better half. To me,
right.
Being married to my wife, it's like I'm in a polygynous marriage. Talk to me. My wife, she switched up her look. Man, when she put on that red wig, talk to me. When she wear the braids, when she rock the natural, talk to me. It's like I'm dating multiple women. So
I got
sidebar after that sidebar. And, so yeah, so one wife, it's a lot to handle. It's a lot, and I love it. And she's my better half. She is my chokmah. She is my chokmah. She's my wisdom personified. Without her, I don't have a clue. But this is definitely theoretic. So I want to preface that, ladies. I'm single. I am not single, and I am not a polygynous.
I'm off the market.
I am one wife, one life.
That's right.
Because my wife will give me a black eye, and you will see a black eye on my light skinned ass. So I ain't trying that. If she's in the room or not in the room,
right?
Ladies, I'm taking. Maybe let's use somebody else. Let's use Double T. This is my Ach right here. Let's use Double. No, he's married too. Let's use I love Uncle because he agreed with you. Uncle J.E. He agreed with you for real. Like, he's an elder too. He's our elder. So let's say you gave your wife to Uncle J.E.
I've given a daughter to Uncle J.E. Okay. And now Uncle J.E. and I, remember, before this comes to happen, this union, my man and me, we got to get to know each other. Right? We have to ensure that how we move is in alignment and in agreement. And so when I've given my daughter to him, it's because I have built a relationship where I love this man, Uncle J.E., and Uncle J.E. love me. And so watch this. Uncle J.E. ain't going to treat my daughter any kind of way. He going to think twice before he ever lay a hand on her, right? Or even speak crazy to her, because Uncle J.E. don't want to mess up his relationship with me. Remember, if somebody comes out against Uncle J.E., I am now obligated to stand with Uncle J.E. And now it ain't just Uncle J.E., it's Uncle J.E. and me. So marriage then becomes more than just you taking a woman, y'all building this life. It's you took my daughter, and now my daughter has been given to you, and now we are in a league with one another. And because I have love for you, you have love for me, you're not going to put your hands on my daughter because you're going to have to see me. You see what I'm saying? So you're now inclined to not be violent, not be abusive, not talk crazy, because me and you love each other. We are a Akkad, we're one. And now we are establishing this clan that will become a tribe. We can't afford to now be at war with each other because of how you treated my daughter. And so if we go back to the foundational aspect of building families, communities, etc., this is how you do it. You do it through building families. You don't have to do it through polygyny, but you do it through building families. And that's how y'all become one.
Powerful. Hey, you bringing answers. You're bringing alternatives on for those who support polygyny, those who are interested. You can carry it out. From my understanding, there has to be a covenant between father to father. There has to be a covenant between you, Adon, More, Ach Yahu'el, and Zakein, Uncle J.E. And subscribe to Uncle J.E.'s channel too. He makes content. He makes great content. He's saying in the chat, he's saying on screen, love the conversation. And we have our disagreements, but it's all love. I love the elder. And so I get understanding to your agreement that there has to be a covenant. There has to be like an oath. There has to be like a bond. I mean, in modern terms, word is bond. Word is bond. So like, I'm loving this conversation. So so let me just get this clarity. Okay, so there has to be like some bond oath, and I'm gonna be a little tongue in cheek here. I'm gonna just let that. I'm just gonna say this now out of respect, but because I'm loving this dialogue, I even feel comfortable to even take this chance. So you mean there has to be like this word is bond, as we say today. There has to be this covenant, this treaty, because a covenant is deeper than a contract. A contract is kind of a Western mindset, but a covenant is done through blood, and technically it's done through cutting. You karat a covenant. You karat habaritz. You cut the covenant. You cut a covenant with family, with your wife, with Yehovah, just like how Abraham cut a covenant with Yehovah, and it requires blood, and that blood it symbolizes your life and their life. It's a deep matter of fact. Me and you, before we was in the awakening, while we was eating pork chops and hog maws and chitlins, we were in covenant with Yah before we even knew it. If we look at Deuteronomy, we were in covenant before we even knew it. So let me go ahead and say this. A lot of preference, and I know I'm a yapper, bro. I'm long-winded, but so like
straight. I just every time that revelation comes, I'm so embarrassed that I can fix my mouth to say I liked pork, or Father, forgive us.
Big fact. Now, I was want to say this. Well, that was a long laugh. I should have chose the quicker one. But like, so there has to be like some type of covenant between brother to brother, father to father, maybe even an oath. Now, I'm gonna take a chance. Now, would you go out of your way and swear an oath and touch his thigh and make this oath and make this official, or is there another way maybe we can make this covenant official? How would we make this covenant official? Would you touch his thigh? You touch your thigh and hey, I'm down by the law. I'm down. Hey, we ride or die. Like, how would you get jumped in? Like, how you do it? Blood in, blood out? Talk to me.
It's so that's the beauty of making covenants, right? Or the things that we do to symbolize the covenant being made, the vow, the oath being made. And so, like, one example that I gave was, I got a jar, you got a jar. In that jar is dirt from my land, and in your jar is dirt from your land. And I take that and put it, and the vow is, if we can separate the grains of dirt from each jar, if we can't, then let our families be like this. You see what I'm saying? And so the blood covenant.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah. Sure. The blood covenant.
The blood covenant is being established between my daughter and this son, or my daughter and this man, because they're walking in their virginity. And so that's the blood that is shed, that for the covenant of the union.
And that was beautiful, and I agree. Cain, Khan, Shaka Khan, however you say it. I say Cain, but whatever. Cain, Khan, Shaka Khan, both. Now, yes, that's a covenant between husband and wife. But I guess what I'm saying is, like, how can you make that covenant with the father, with your brother-in-law, because we are in the land of our captivity. They don't recognize polygyny. So like, how can we make sure like we actually riding like the Bloods and Crips? We making sure we got each other's back. Now I know that was some of our lives before the awakening, but I'm just saying, like, how can we make sure you ain't gonna like you ain't gonna like cat off on me. How we gonna make sure we're gonna enforce protection and the rights to our daughters in today? Like, are we gonna, what kind of covenant are we gonna make as brothers? I guess that's what I'm saying. That's kind of like the heart of my question.
So that's between the men to figure out, and that's the beauty. That's what I was saying. That's the beauty of the Torah. We see it happening so many different ways. It could be, I don't have a problem if my man was like, yo, hand on the thigh, yo, hand on the thigh. That's what it is. But it's not my responsibility to hold you accountable to your word. It's your responsibility to keep your word. It's my responsibility to keep my word. And so that's the creme de la creme of the situation, is that I'm trusting you to keep your word. And if you don't, there are curses that come upon you for violating your vow, your oath. And that's it.
Hey, there it is, family. Ach Yahu'el is giving answers on how you can live out and carry this out. And I love that we can have this dialogue, because this is a sensitive topic. I feel, I ain't gonna lie, my heart is for our women, for the daughters of Zion, because like you said, polygyny is not for everybody. Now it's for some folks. I mean, hey, I mean, there's some women out there. I mean, hey, it can benefit. So I know that it's not against Torah. Like, I never said it's against Torah. I mean, the Torah gives it gives reasoning, and it gives consequences and repercussions as well. And I guess what I'm saying is, there has to be like a governing body. And from what I gather, it's through brother to brother. It's through elder to elder within the community. We just got to make sure their word is bond, though. And like you said, there's curses that come with it. But me just thinking on another, like, I got another question. Okay, so like, if he break his word, like, who gonna make sure he gonna keep his word here on earth? Like,
that's what I'm
because
saying.
he can switch up. He can just switch up and be like, nah, I'm gonna switch, like, so like there has to be like another person that's gonna keep him in check. That way he don't get out of line. Like, so like, just be like, okay, well, it's just the curses. Yeah, but like, how can we instill that fear, from our other brothers to make sure that we're doing the right thing?
I don't want to instill fear. I want to instill love. Perfect love casts out all fear. So that's what I'm saying. If my relationship with you is built on love, or Uncle J.E. is built on love, then Uncle J.E. is going to think 2 and 3 and 4 times hard. He more inclined to pick up the phone and call me and be like, yo, your daughter's tripping. Your daughter's tripping. Talk to your daughter. And I'm going to be like, hey, let me tell you what to do. This is what you do. Right? He's like, I've done everything. I bought her flowers. I took her out to eat, and nothing is working. I'm like, nah, don't do that. What you need to do is you need to go in a room, look at her, and be like, you were special to me. And whatever your issue is going to start resolving. And he goes and he does it. And he's like, how did you know that would work? And I'll say, because that worked for her mother. She's her mother's child, So this is the way that she was brought up. And this is how I know to resolve a situation. You see what I'm saying? So the relationship is built on love. The education of success is built on love. And we love the Torah, and we love our L. And so we're moving in a way. Now, it's even better even if Uncle J.E. is all the way in California, if he got an elder, man, I'm linking him with my elder. And now these elders and us can now have this conversation and et cetera, et cetera. And then we move in a ruach of unity between us. And like I said, you are less inclined to do. Plus, I've raised my daughters to be non-confrontational. They know how to communicate. They know how to express themselves. They know how to shut up. They know how to speak. They know how to love. You know what I'm saying? So they have seen it work. They've been in a house where polygyny works. So if that were to be the case, boom. They know how to walk in a room and be like, sis, you was out of line. And if you expect your relationship with your ish to work, our ish to work, Like, you're going to need to do X, Y, and Z, or it's not going to work. And she could listen to the advice, or she could not listen to the advice. But my daughters understand how to stay in their lane. Why? Because they grew up in a house of sisters, and this is how we have taught them to be amongst each other.
That's powerful. That's powerful. Okay, I'm gonna have maybe a few more questions. I know it's getting late. I mean, I love speaking to you. We got to do this again some other time, because this is a powerful dialogue, and this just gives another perspective. That way, they don't just got to hear my spiel all night. They can hear your perspective, because you actually live in this. You about this. You know about it, and you know the dangers that it can create. But you also, aware of the advantages that it has as well. So yeah, I gather that happens in
I
brotherhood.
would never put my hand on them, because I would never want to have to answer to my in-laws about what I said or did to their daughter.
Wow. Now, okay, so I'm gonna have like probably a couple more. All right, so all right, now when it comes to the law of the land, to America, all right, let's say there's a polygynous marriage, right? We'll use Uncle J.E. We're gonna pick on Uncle J.E. tonight, since he's been disagreeing with me all night. He's been letting me have it. He's been rebutting me, correcting me. It's all love, we go back and forth. But okay, let's say Uncle J.E. Let's say he's got multiple wives, right? Let's say he's got 2 wives, and he abandoned his second wife. And his second wife, he has a child with his second wife. So he has a child with his first wife, and he has a child with his second wife. See, he loves it. He loves it. We're talking she. So like, okay, so he has a child with his first wife and a child with his second wife. Now, let's say his second wife leaves. Remember, they have a child. So what do you do in regards for the second wife, for her rights to be protected as a citizen of Torah and as a citizen of the United States of America? Do you report? And by the way, these are with your daughter. If you're okay, we use your daughter for example, right? Let's say Uncle J.E. is married. We'll just say both of your daughters, right? Oh no, we'll say your daughter's the second one. He has the first wife, and then his second wife is one of your daughters, right? Respectfully, theoretically speaking.
Yeah,
so like, you. Right. So let's say he abandons or sends out the second wife with her kid, with their kid, with their kid. And what do you do as the father, to his second wife? Do you report it to the government, the United States of America, or do you keep it within the brotherhood?
It's a great question. So are you saying, let me get clarity. Are you saying that he sent her away, or are you saying she left on her own?
Let's say we'll take the Torah. We'll take Exodus 21:11 and 10 and 11. Let's say
She's not
if he take him another wife, her food, her raiment, and her duty of marriage, she shall not diminish. Shall he not diminish? And if he do not these things, 3 unto her. If he doesn't do these things, Uncle J.E. is he neglects it. He neglects his wife and his children. By the way, we're going to add that caveat: his wife and his children. Then shall she go out free without money. And another translation for that sounds a little harsh.
That's a servant.
It says without any payment of money, without making any payment. Okay, it is what it is. So we'll use those 2 verses. So let's say we use that as an example.
A servant, though. This is a judgment relating to servants. Now we can say this is still a situation.
Like, would you say like that's the servant is his wife though, or you think this is like another? So I just want your clarification. Like, so is the second woman here his wife or a servant? Like, how would you classify?
Okay, so I'm saying we can use the situation, but I wouldn't use Exodus 21 because my daughter wouldn't go into his house as a servant. She would have went into his house as a wife, not a handmaid, a wife, right? Because I'm not in debt like that where I would have to sell a daughter off or some craziness like that. So, and I wouldn't send my daughter into someone's home to grow up in, like, we're not there in our societal culture yet to be able to move like that. So if we'll say Uncle J.E. had 2 wives, my daughter is the second wife, and are you saying he sends her away, or are you just saying he just rolled out and abandoned them?
You know what? Thank you for the edification. Thank you for the clarification. We'll use any. I'm cool with any example. Any example, honestly, any example, because to me it doesn't really change what I'm going to ask next. Go ahead.
It matters because it's going to change my answer depending on if he abandons them, meaning he leaves them where he's at, he takes off, versus him sending her out.
All right, that's we'll use worst case scenario. What's the worst case scenario? How's that?
Worst case would be
for your wife, yeah. For your daughter in this situation.
Wow.
What's the worst case?
Worst case would be abandonment because you don't know what's happened. If he sends her out, I mean, you clearly understand what's happened. But if he abandons, you don't know if he's still alive, if he's like, what's going on? You know, so it's like, oh, he was mad at me and then he left, or he was mad at her and then he left, and I'm stuck here. I don't know what to do. What I would do is I would call his father. And I would be like, hey, my brother, what's going on? Here's the situation. How you want to move? How you want to handle this? Because it's your son, it's his wife, and that's his responsibility, his child. And so let's say his dad, you said worst case scenario. So we'll continue playing it out. And his dad was like, man, I don't have nothing to do with that. That ain't me. That ain't my responsibility. He should have he should have knew what he was doing when he signed up for it. Don't call my phone, blah, blah, blah. Okay.
And that's what he said. That's what he said in the chat. He says, I abandoned them right there. So there you go. He's playing along with it.
All right. So, my responsibility is to, if he doesn't have somebody in his line that steps in, and not that he's having sex with my daughter and the other wife, but that, like, hey, I'm going to ensure that you all are safe, that you all have all the provisions that you need until my brother returns, till my cousin returns, until my uncle or my nephew or whatever returns. I'm going to make sure that y'all are good. If none of that is available.
So if he don't do all of that, are you going to like send out the homies to go get him, or to go looking for him? Or
no, I'm gonna do what the Torah tells me to do, which is if my neighbor's creature goes missing and I discover it, my responsibility is to take care of him until he returns. And this is literally playing out right now. We have a dog that just showed up on our property and has not left. You don't have a collar or none of that. And so we have a responsibility to look out for him until somebody claims him or until he takes off wherever he's going. But he's been here for like 2.5 weeks. He's responding to commands and all that. And we've asked our neighbors, like, oh, who does this belong to? Don't nobody got an answer. So it's our responsibility, because he wandered up on our spot, to look out for him until. And in the same likeness, if my brother has lost his mind and abandoned his responsibilities, his vows, his oath, I'm not going to leave my daughter stranded. And let's say it's not my daughter. Let's say it's the other wife. I'm going to call her father. I'm going to be like, hey, your daughter is out here. Here's the situation. How you want to handle it? Because we are connected via this man. Our children are siblings. And I don't want my child stranded, just like I don't want your grandchild stranded. How you want to move? And if he don't have an answer, whatever, then I got to assume the responsibility until my man comes back and takes his responsibility seriously.
So you will hold it down in his absence?
I would have to, according to Torah law.
Beautiful, beautiful.
If I have to do that for an animal, my daughter or a human being has more value. Don't matter if she's my daughter or she's the other woman.
Not if she lives in East Oakland. Not if he lives in East Oakland. A black man in East Oakland, a 3-letter dog is more worth than a black man in East Oakland. I'm only saying this because my older brother was murdered in East Oakland, and my older brother was your complexion. So I'm speaking. I know what I'm talking about. So let me go ahead and share this out, though. This is for the audience. This is not for me and you, Moray, but this is for the audience right here, because it says wife right here. Now, this is italicized, which means it doesn't say verbatim in Ivrit, in the Hebrew. It's implied that it means wife. And I agree with this translation. I would lean towards wife because it says in Ivrit, hallelujah, im acharetz yikwak lo sha'era katsula kasuta we o nata welo yigra. So it says, if he take him another, it says im acharetz, which means another. It's feminine adjective. Yikak, which means take, he took. Now, yikak is used, it comes from the root word lakwak, which means to take. And when you find that word lakwak throughout the Torah, it involves when you take a wife. When you see the word lakak, it means to take a wife. And we just click on that word, to take. This is for edification for the crowd. I'm not flexing reading the Hebrew. I'm just sharing that it has to do with taking a wife. And, you know, the definition reads crazy, but there is context in regards to marry, to take a wife, as it says in the Hebrew. And we got to keep in mind right here, marry, take a wife. And this is the verb, lakwak or lakak, depending on how you want to say it, depending on how you want to flex it. And right here, this is in the kal stem, which means it's a simple action. It's just a simple action, family. I mean, it's not an intensive action, so it's not by force, or it's not even implied that way. But it says, im acharetz yikwak lo sha'era kasuta we o nata lo yigra. So it says, if another, referring to a woman, he took, and remember, he took lakak in regards to with a woman, it's you take a wife. When you see lakwak attached to a woman, it deals with taking a wife, marrying a woman. So I agree with this translation. I actually agree with the King James in this situation. So let's work it out. Im, if, acheretz, if another, referring to a woman, he took, lo, to him, sha'era, her food, kasuta, her raiment, we'o nata, and her duty of marriage, lo, not, yigra, ligra, shall he diminish. So it's inferred wife, but this is just my inference. I ain't got a lot to kick it. It's my inference. I think it's speaking about a wife. And also it says right here in Exodus 21:11, Wa'im sharash ele lo ya'asela we yatsa'a chinam ein kasef, or also kesef. It's spelled kasef here, but it's kesef, dealing with money or silver. And right here, we'll just go through it. We'll parse it together. And if shalash 3 ele, these, lo, not, he will do, or he will make or do, la, to her, wa yatsa, then she shall go out, she shall exit, chinam, free, ain, none, or nothing, or none, or without, kasef or kesef, referring to money. So I believe it refers to a woman because it has the word lah, which means to her, referring to a woman in verse 11. And also it has the reference right here. I'm gonna use it again, lakak, which is in the kal imperfect third person masculine form, but it comes from the root word lakwak, which means to take. And because this is speaking about a woman, to lakwak isha, to take a wife, to lakak la, to take to him a woman, it deals with marriage or getting married. So I apply this as a wife, even though it doesn't say that in Ivrit. It's not there. If we highlight over the word, if we just gonna be, if I'm gonna be a dork, you highlight over the wife, it's not there. See, when you highlight over another, it says Ach Yahu'el, but when you highlight over wife, there's nothing there because it's inserted. So the translators are doing their best to make out this meaning. Some will say, a slave wife, and then some would say another woman. Some would say another wife. So I would lean toward the ESV in this version. If you got to put a gun to my head and say, Jaydon, Umore Jaydon, make a choice. What's your favorite translation? I would say it's the ESV because it's word for word, but it uses more sources than the KJV. The KJV was not aware of the Dead Sea Scrolls. It's not aware of the documents that we have access to in the 21st century. So like, I would say it's a wife from my standpoint. And so this is dealing with a marriage. Now, the heart of what I'm asking, I think this might be my last question and we give our closing. I could go on and on, like for real. I love speaking to you. I love speaking to Amore as yourself, very knowledgeable, humble, and optimistic, positive, got the Ruach dwelling within you, and actually listening to what I had to say tonight, because I know I had to say a lot. And the fact that you listened to me, I really value that. So like, okay, let's say Uncle J.E., he abandons your daughter, which is the second wife, and your grandchild. This is your grandchild that he also abandoned. This is your grandkids. And we know grandkids love them. They love some grandkids now. Now, I don't know about their sons and their daughters, but they love them some grandkids. Talk to me. Now, with that said, Uncle J.E. was to bounce on his duty as a father and a husband to your daughter and to your grandson. Let's say your grandson in this case. And let's say, you're holding it down, Adon, and he's still like, he wouldn't go. See, he just, he's being a dick. You feel me? Like, he's not coming through. So like, would you, out of protection for your daughter and for your grandson, would you file a complaint to the government to enforce her spousal support and child support?
No. It is not the government's responsibility to hold a man accountable to his word. It is the Most High's responsibility to hold a man accountable to his word. And if he abandons his responsibility, in this scenario, because there are other scenarios where I would say you might need to do that. But in this
please bring that. We'll flip that. We'll flip that. I'm gonna go ahead and flip a Yui. I'm gonna flip a. You know what?
Is there a scenario that you would?
I want to know that scenario. Let's go, Ach.
Yes. A scenario where I would say that that's necessary is when a man has made himself the sole responsible person as it pertains to providing for his family, and he's neglecting that, and there is no secondary support system like her family, his family, then as a woman, you have to lean on something. Now, she may not get spousal support, but she could pursue child support. The issue is that the issue is if you can catch him for child support, then you know where he's at. So if you know where he's at, now we can have a conversation with the man about his responsibilities, right? And now we are a type of emissary or advocate of the Torah, speaking on behalf of the father before it gets to the father to address the situation and make right on his word. But in that moment, if he chooses, nah, you can't tell me I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. I'm not praying for mercy for you. I'm praying that he teach the lesson to you as hard as he needs to teach it to make you right. Sorry. Let the chips fall where they may.
Let the chips fall where they may. Woo, that's right. Make that dead beat. Pay for his obligation, which is his wife and his children. I know you left out spousal support, but for my position, if he chooses to be a homicide and bounce on his wife and his children, he's worse. What that verse say? Help me out now. What's that verse say? You are worse than an unbeliever. I'm paraphrasing. You are a piece of dirt. You referenced dirt earlier. You are dirt. You are trash. You are a bummerclot. But yeah, go ahead. I'm working on my patois because I get a lot of love from Israelites in the Caribbean, and I don't know, some words I'm like, I'm bringing that to America, even though I'm not Jamaican. You feel me? A bummerclot is like, it has so much wide range of meaning. I'm like, it don't necessarily have to mean the worst of the worst of what it originally means, it can kind of mean somebody that's a dummy, that chooses to be boosie, that chooses to be a bumclot, and even a homosexual, and a traitor to his own seed. How you gonna do your own flesh? Your wife is your flesh. We become one flesh. Like, I'm a cleaver. Like, I left my home. I left my parents to be one with my wife. We are echad. We are basar, echad, one flesh. So, like, for a man to go that low, to be tapped into the adversary, to the devil, to Hasatan, he is worse than an unbeliever. And he need to repent. Hey, there might be some phone calls made. I might have to call up some of the homies and instill that fear in him. Put that fear of God in his chest. He gonna get it the hard way. But hey, it shouldn't have to go like that.
That's the better way. It's the better way, because if he would yield to the homies, then now the government didn't have to get involved, and now we don't look bad in the community. And I mean, I say the community, I mean on a larger scale.
But I guess what I would say is that, and I agree with you, she has that option to seek child support, but I would say also she has the option to even partake in spousal support. And the reason why I say that is because of the damage that bumba clot caused on her as the wife and the children. Because it says,
how do you prove that he espoused them?
So like, this is what I'm getting at, Asham, the guilt offering. The guilt offering is designed for those who had caused damage to an individual, regardless of the individual. You caused damage. You harmed that person. You stole from that person. You inflicted pain on that person. You abandoned that person. When we look at the Asham, the guilt offering, if you violate the guilt offering, and Christians, they don't understand this because they think you break one law, you break them all. That's completely wrong. No, laws are different. They're in categories. And
that's right.
They're different laws, and there's different type of offerings you got to give. And one of the offerings that Pastor Pochop did not teach, just because he's too busy eating bacon and hog maws and chitlins, is the guilt offering. See, the guilt offering requires, if you rob somebody, if you hurt somebody, if you afflicted somebody, you are to pay restitution. Excuse me. I'm going to use one of my favorite R words. You are required to pay reparations.
The issue is
the reparations offering. Let me go ahead and land this real quick. So the guilt offering is AKA the reparations offering. And check it. Not only as that father, as that husband who chose to abandon his wife and his children, not only is he required by the Asham, by the guilt offering, to pay reparations to his wife and to his children, he is to pay an additional fifth part, an additional 20% on top of that. And check it. He also is to give an offering to the Most High. He is to offer a ram. So he got to come out of pocket. He got to come out a pocket for this good ram to sacrifice to Yahuwah. Why? Because he violated Yahuwah. He violated Yahuwah. He violated his wife. He violated his children. He is to pay restitution by giving an offering. He is to pay an offering. He is to pay with an offering to Yahuwah because he offended Yah and he defended his wife and his children. He is to pay full price of his damage, and he is to pay 20% on top of it. What I'm saying, Ach, in a nutshell, spousal support and child support is biblical. It comes from the Torah principle of the guilt offering, aka Asham.
My only issue with some of that is that they belong to him. That is his child, his wife. They go by his name, his reputation, etc. And so I don't particularly see that spelled out that way. I'm not saying that they aren't owed support. It's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that because they belong to him, he is responsible for them, but he is not responsible to them. He's responsible to those above him, but he's responsible for those below him. That's what I'm saying. And so
you're saying the wife is below him? Just clarification.
I'm saying in the order of how Rab Shaul broke it down, you have the father, the son, the man, the wife, the child. So in the order of how it was that he broke it down, everything that came, I'll say it like this: he's responsible for everything that came after him. To just, because I understand there are different modes of thought. Just kind of based on like how Shaul spelled out that order, but then also when we look at Numbers 30, the husband can, if a wife were to utter a vow, oath, or something, he can overturn that. He can't utter something and she overturn what he says. And so it's not about, I'm pushing this whole he's lording over. Nah, I get it. There are different modes of thought. I'm not trying to disrupt nobody's home. What I'm saying is there are levels of accountability. That's what I'm saying. He is accountable for his wife and his children and everything acquired after the point of acquiring, but they are all accountable to him. He's accountable above for them, and they are accountable up to him, right? And his responsibility is to teach them the way. And when he gets a wife, her responsibility is to articulate the way in an instructional way to where it can be understood. You know what I'm saying? He says, hey, take off your shoes when you come in the house. She goes, your father said take off your shoes because what he doesn't want is dirt tracked through the house. This is good. So now her instruction brings understanding to the law that he instituted.
Beautiful. I love it. I love it. I love that we're giving these nuanced inside baseball perspectives. Now I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say what I got to say, and then I'll let you go ahead and give your closing, Adon, and then I'll give my, and then when we out here, we're gonna close out because this is beautiful. We're approaching almost the 5-hour mark. I'm so glad that you made the time to come on here tonight. And yeah, from Paul, I hope we don't fall out over this. I look at Paul's letters the same way I look at Talmud. He's got gems, but he says some stuff according to my perspective, just my perspective. And I say this all the time to the chat. And I got people who subscribe to Paul 1000%, even though that's impossible. It's a cliche. You hear athletes say all the time, I'm going to give 1000%, 110%. But check it. There's a lot of people who ride for Paul, and he drops gems. Paul ain't no dummy. However, according to me, sometimes he say some dumb sugar honey iced tea. And I say this out of passion for the love of the daughters of Zion. And I have a little bit of conscious community still left in me because I still rely on science as a methodology. We all come from a black woman. We all come from a black woman. So we have to put respect on the black woman, and we have to defend and protect and serve our black women. And it says in Proverbs 31, we are to praise that virtuous woman. Excuse me, that's a whack translation. A virtuous woman is a woman of valor. She is a powerful woman. She is a wealthy woman, because that word, chayil, it deals with wealth. It deals with power. It actually deals with the term army. It has military within that word. So this woman is a woman of valor. Let me fix it and just keep it all the way 100. This is not a virtuous woman. This is a strong black woman. That's right, because our ancestors in the Bible were the Israelites, and they were melanated people. They were black folks, colloquially speaking. So with that said, like my heart, I really try to defend our women. Call me caping, call me a simp. I'll be that. I'll be that. In the words of Red Man. But check it. Some of what Paul says, I look at like Talmud, like it's like he's saying things that don't align with Torah. Like I believe a woman can teach, can lead a man. We find examples of that in the Tanakh. I believe that a woman don't always have to have her head covered while she's prophesying. That's not found in the Torah. And a man who is prophesying don't always have to have his head uncovered, because they don't say that in the Torah. We had the priests throughout the Torah. They had head coverings. They wore different head coverings. And one of those head coverings is what I got on, something similar to this. This is a bonnet. We see in the ancient historical record of Shemitic folk, which are black folk, Asiatics, the Asiatic black man, they was rocking this kippah right here. So what I'm saying is that Paul's teaching, some of it I don't find in the Torah, so I take it for a grain of salt. He says a lot of powerful things, but to me, I don't have to live my life by it. And to close up what I'm saying as a response, not even a rebuttal, just a response, is that I don't believe in that hierarchy. You know, let's say the Father, Yahusha HaMashiach, the Father. Yeah, it says Abba Yah, Yahusha HaMashiach, Yeshua, however you want to say it, Yahushua, and then Father, and then Mother. Like, I don't subscribe to that. From my undertakings, the husband and the wife are echad, they are one. It says in Ecclesiastes, I believe. I made a shirt on this too. No. It's in the Song of Solomon. It's in Song of Songs. I belong to him and he belonged to me. The husband belongs to the wife and the wife belongs to the husband. We find that in Song of Solomon. I made a shirt on that. I sold a few shirts on that. And I believe in that. I don't believe in the curses of Genesis 3 as justification for a man to rule over his wife. To me, that's the consequences of disobedience. And we can reverse that. We can reverse all of those consequences in Genesis 3, because not every man has to work from the sweat of his brow. Have you heard of Elon Musk? Have you heard of wealthy folk? They don't have to work from the sweat of their brow. And not every woman, contrary to popular belief, not every woman experiences pain through conceiving a child, through pregnancy, through delivering a child, through bringing forth the child out of her womb. Not all women experience a pain. Now, it's extremely rare, but there's a gene, there's a genetic that allows women to deal with the pain, or even to the point of even resist the pain and not even experience pain. And we actually have some witness in the chat. We have somebody, shout out to Ima Bithia. She supports this ministry a lot. So she's actually testified on her pregnancy. Shout out to her, Ima. She shows so much support and love to me and this ministry. But what I'm saying, it's a rare case where not all women experience pain through, giving birth of a child. And, I showed an academic article that showed that position. But what I'm saying is that due to the consequence of disobedience, Adam and Hawa were dealt that punishments, and we can reverse that. I look at Genesis 3, the consequences of Genesis 3. I see that in comparison to the consequences of Deuteronomy 28. We don't have to dwell on the curses. We use the curses to prove who we are, but we can reverse the curses. And I encourage our people to reverse the curses. I think that Genesis 3, the punishment, it deals with like a low vibration. And for a man to rule over his wife, I believe that's a low vibration. I believe we are to rule together as one flesh, echad. If I hurt her, she hurts me. If she hurts me, she hurts herself. Like, I belong to her, she belongs to me. We're echad, we're one flesh. So I'm gonna go ahead, and since I got that off my chest, you can tell I'm bothered. I'm gonna go ahead. You got it. Take as long as you want. Go ahead. You can use this opportunity to correct me, or share whatever you like to share. If you'd like to go ahead and plug your channel, your ministry, this is the opportunity to do so. You got it, Ken.
Not. I think I understand how you were breaking down the understanding of marriage, family structure. I'm not gonna debate or argue, I'm not gonna walk into your house and try to attack your point of view, your vantage point, if that is what works for like your development and everything for your house. Like, do that. You're taking.
Look, let me go ahead and I'm gonna get this back. I just want an edification though. Men, be leaders. Take the lead. Be dominant. Don't be domineering, okay? But don't be what's the word? Don't be indecisive. Know what you want and go for it. Be a leader. So I encourage leadership. I mean, you even see Ima Sarah, or Ima, our mother Sarah, like she called Abraham, her husband, our father, Lord, Adon. So, you know, she put great respect on her husband. And so I just want to give some clarity that men, please be assertive, take the lead, and be a leader. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that we rule together. She's my queen. She's my Malka. And there's some things that she's the head of, and there's some things that I'm the head of. She's better at certain things than I am. I ain't gonna lie. One of those things is being a stock market investor. Me, the Most High has revealed some of my weaknesses that were embedded deep down in my heart. I realized I don't like to lose. I realized, you know what? I can come back from being 50% down on a stock. I'm like, we're going to come back. We're going to run it up. All right, we're going to get this money back. But my wife, she's diligent. She is tapped into wisdom. And women, they have, a lot of women, mothers have the gift of intuition. And, you know, just like Ima Sarah, she had the intuition to know that Isaac was the chosen one. Also, Ima, Rivka, had the intuition to know that Jacob was the one. Even though Yitzchak was like, Esau's the one. So that's what I'm saying. Our mother's intuition, you know, I'm flexible a bit. Our wives is, you know, Chokmah personified in the flesh. I mean, it's definitely my undertakings. But I just wanted to give that clarity of that. No, men, don't be a pushover. Don't be a wimp. Be strong. Defend your women. Serve your woman. Pray together. But I think we could lead together. But there's times where, yeah, men, we got to hold it down. And we could really think about it. Men, we got to take charge in more ways than one, if you know what I'm talking about.
It's, all I'm going to say to that is, you know, the true picture of power is delegation or relinquishing of authority, right? So I don't have to rule my house, even in a polygynous situation, from the perspective of control. I give control, and they yield it. And if it's ever yielded improperly, it's my job to teach them how to maneuver it, so that if ever I'm not here on this earth, you know, or taken away, or, you know, whatever, they can still raise my children, my sons, specifically in my image, as I'm trying to reflect the Father. So I give authority in my house. I don't force anybody to do anything. I don't force anybody to bring me a plate. But they say, "Yo, my man like to eat. Let me make sure I want to be the one to serve him, so that he understands that I appreciate him." My daughters do the same. You know, and I can go down a long rabbit hole for that. What I can say is, in agreement with you, is that you do not have to dominate a person in a marriage or otherwise to be a good leader. A good leader is the one that stands in a room and people know that that person is the leader, not by what they say, but by how everybody looks at that man. So I would encourage brothers, like you say, yo, lead. Don't be intimidated. Don't be weak. But be wise. Be wise. And the more you relinquish control, the more they give it back to you. That's what I've learned. So that's essentially all I got. I think I will probably, you know, in a different space conversation, whatever, we probably have more in common than you think about perspectives relating to the New Testament of Paul. I do believe in the New Testament, you know, all that, but I'm saying just some of the things that people deem scripture that Paul is saying is commentary and perspective. If we can't open the book and see it and what is called scripture, then, you know, we can agree to disagree or whatever. So I think we probably have some of those things in common. But I'll say that, you know, I appreciate the opportunity to come on your space, to allow me to hear you out, etc., and then allow me the opportunity to maybe bring clarity. And if somebody is walking in it and they don't have leadership, or somebody that's been in it long enough to kind of help you navigate through it, man, you can reach out to me. My email is very simple: 01jvrr@gmail.com. I don't have a bunch of like I don't have like a ministry or anything like that at this time. But you can email me, and I can see what I can do to help you navigate the waters of polygyny, if that's what you're gonna do, or even monogamy. Because I've been married for over 22 years to my first wife, so I got you. Or I know how to put you in the hands of people that can help you navigate, even if it's like redirecting you to Stockton.
I gotta say, hey, I seen that. I want to make sure I got your email correct. It's 01jvrr@gmail.com. Did I get that correct?
You
All
got it,
right,
brother.
family. Absolutely, family. Make sure you reach out to Ach Yahu'el, More Ach Yahu'el at 01jrj Salika 01jvrr@gmail.com. Is there anything else you'd like to share, plug, anything else before we sign off, King?
Nah, just let's as we close out, brothers, remember in your prayers those that are struggling right now financially based upon work situations, women that are carrying righteous seed, and brothers who desire to continue their progeny, that the Most High would give them what they need, the tools to be successful.
All praises, all glory, all kavod to Yehovah, Yahweh, Yahuwah, Yahweh, Elohim, to our great King. I'd like to thank everybody in the chat. I also want to say shalom, shalom to Malika Mali. Shalom, shalom to you. Shalom to everybody in the chat. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'd like to thank Adon, More, Ach, Yahu'el,
Hey, same to
More,
you.
J. Until next time, shalom, fam.
Hey, shalom, Torah.